Welcome back to Point of View. In recent years, poor and working class Cape Town residents have received countless promises on inner city housing. They are finally standing up to gentrification and saying enough is enough. In studio with me, I have Dina Bosch, who is one of the current leaders for the Woodstock chapter. Beva Lucas, who is from Ndifuna Ukwazi, is a former trade union organizer and anti-apartheid activist in South Africa. He has a vested interest in the working class communities in Cape Town. Dina, Bevel, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for inviting us onto your show.
It's an honor, and I'm glad you were able to make it. So tell us, who is Reclaim the City and who is in Ndifuna Ukwazi?
Ndifuna Ukwazi is a legal law center that assists different communities around questions of evictions and their rights as tenants, and would offer legal services to be able to bring cases at different levels in the various courts in Cape Town. And as we know that there has been a number of cases that have set precedent law, but property developers, landlords do not always respect the rights of tenants. And so NU as a law center tries to assist people in securing and defending those rights to allow people to live a better quality of life.
Okay. Speaking of legal services, I wanted to know, do you all have any protocols that protect tenants maybe from rent controls and things like that within the organization?
Firstly, we need to understand that there isn't a rent control board any longer. That was done away with. What you do have is a housing tribunal. And so the housing tribunal will listen to arguments and issues around rental rates and so. And just a few days ago, a groundbreaking determination was made where one of the social housing institutions has been forced to backdate rental increases, but to reduce it. And that determination will have a very big impact on how rental increases are to be established in the future.
All right. So Dina, how is Reclaim the City fighting for affordable housings for the people?
You may remember the Tafelberg School case in Sea Point, which is public land, it's public property. So Reclaim the City and Ndifuna Ukwazi wanted the provincial government to use that building for affordable housing, inclusive housing, so that a sizable portion of the property is used for affordable housing for people who have lived in Sea Point, working class people who have been residents of Sea Point for decades, but had to live in those little walkies in the buildings, and in a way had to hide because of apartheid laws. Apartheid is dead, but affordable housing ain't yet been made available in the inner city, in areas like Sea Point, Woodstock, inner city, Salt River, Observatory, Mowbray, all over. Our government, both national, provincial, local, have not paid attention to it in Cape Town. And so Reclaim the City was then started when we saw that the Premier, Helen Zille, could get away with, and her special advisor, and putting public land, public property in the hands of the private sector, and ignore the needs of the housing needs of people in Sea Point. And our constitution makes it quite clear, and there's Splume as well, the laws of the country, that the apartheid spatial development patterns have to be changed, that we can't just carry on and sit back and throw people, people who can't afford, poor people on the outskirts of the city, and create the kind of barbaric conditions as we have in Blikkiesdorp and in Wolverivier, and the city our government not taking responsibility.
Okay. Tell us about the building that has been occupied by Reclaim the City. So in order for the people who, I don't want to say gentrified, but due to gentrification, who are now homeless.
Are you talking about
The
Sissy
one-
House in
Yes,
Woodstock?
yes.
There's Helen Bowden in the waterfront as well. Now this is also, it's public land, it's
Yes.
public property. Land is finite. We can't make more land. Yes, we reclaimed some land in Sea Point, but land is finite. People in Woodstock have been thrown out. You've spoken to Fahmida Ling in Albert Road, where Wex One and the Berman brothers are going to make lots of money, and they haven't included affordable housing units in the developments that they're doing. And government left us very little choice but to occupy that land. Homelessness is as unconstitutional as stealing public money. And so they're not, and so we occupied that building.
So for the people, what is the procedure or the protocol for them to stay in that building?
Okay. We started with a small group of people. I say we didn't imagine that we'll still be there, but we are there. March 2017, we occupied the building with a small group of people. In the beginning, we decided, no, we're not going to take people's belongings because we know what the Red Ants do in Gauteng when they throw people out of buildings and damage people's property. But as time went and we organized ourselves more, we also drew up a set of rules for how we want to live there and for who the occupation is meant to be. People need to be homeless. People need to be evicted or face. It's not for people who can't really afford, who have accommodation but can't afford the rent. And they really, really have to be destitute. So we've set up the rules. There's an intake committee. People are interviewed. People have to pledge to live in the building according to the rules decided by everybody. And yes, it's not without its challenges, but so far so good.
So good. Well, Dina, Bevel, thank you so much for joining me. In some communities like EVTs from Woodstock have been offered an alternative, but is this really a fair offer?
I'm Shana Commando, and I'm 29 years old. I've been staying in Bromwell Street all my life, and this is where I grew up. This is my neighborhood. Gentrification is just swiping out the whole community. It's just there's no more community like it used to be. You could go to other people's houses. There were shops on every corner. If you grow up in a place, it's hard to leave it after 29 years. So if you talk about me, what about Auntie Brenda that's been staying here 76 years? Property developers don't care about who you are, what is happening in your life, your situation. They are destroying lives. They are destroying families, they are destroying community, and it's so sad. Because what he wants to send us to over the field. I don't think they think that these people are human beings. There's no health facilities, there's no shops like, for instance, you can walk from here, you can walk over the road, you're gonna get a shop or a garage. There ain't stuff like that.
Ja, nou dis hoekom ons hier toe kom, laat die mense kan praat, laat die mense kan sien, buitekant. Dis wat die government doen. Die government sê hulle doen die ding, maar hulle doen dit nie. Want dis die situation. Hulle sê hulle het jou eie parking, het jou eie shower, het jou eie toilet. Hier is die werk vir die mense, hier is die winkels, hier is die hospitale nie. Hier is niks. Jy kan die mense net so weggooi nie.
People here are not going to move to Bovenrivier, even if it means they must sleep on the street. After this, we're not going to give up the fight. We're still going to stand with other evictees who's being evicted. The motto here is enough is enough.
In the words of Martin Luther King, whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly.
Definitely. This is Sinenhlanhla from Big Fish School of Digital Filmmaking. Thank you so much for joining us.
And I am Atini Manona for Point of View, bringing people together.